Welcome to episode 177.
You're listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast, where you'll learn the underground, closely guarded secrets that will revolutionize your real estate business. This podcast is all about helping you exit the real estate newbie zone and enter financial freedom, building up your real estate throne. This is Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast. And now your host, real estate investor, entrepreneur, world traveler, and nationwide mentor, Chris Bruce.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Escaping the REI Newbie Zone. I'm your host, Chris Bruce, and I want to say thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Today's going to be an awesome one, first off, because we have a very special guest. All right, and I'm pretty sure you've heard of him. He's behind the podcast and website Epic Real Estate, one of the top real estate podcasts on iTunes. So I'm pretty sure you might have came across him. He's been in real estate since 2003, actually coming from the music industry. And he's been able to build up a small real estate empire without using any dime of his money or credit. And everything he's built up has been to generate passive income, all right, using assets to generate cash flow so that way he can be able to enjoy life. You know, we always talk about different strategies like wholesaling and, going out there and rehabbing. And those things are cool. Those are active, income type of producing strategies. But the goal in life, which your goal should be, is to take that active income producing cash and move it over to assets that will produce positive cash flow for you. So that way you can travel the world if you want to. You can kick back in the middle of the week, at a downtown bar, with some friends or whatever. You can live life on your terms. All right. The key to freedom is passive income. And that's exactly what my guest, Matt Theriault, is going to be talking about today. So let me go ahead and wait no further and introduce Matt Theriault to the podcast. Welcome to the show, guys and girls. As I said in the intro, we have Matt Theriault on the line. Matt, are you there?
I am, Chris.
Oh, great to have you on the show. So for anyone that is that's tuning in right now and maybe they don't know much about you, can you tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you got started in real estate?
Sure. Yeah, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I spent the next 15 years of my life in the music business. And had a small little hip-hop label with major label distribution. And that went really well for a long time until the digital download came along. It just kind of changed the way everybody consumes music. And when you're in the business of selling CDs, that would be compact discs, for those of you who don't know what that is. And people start downloading music instead. It turned that whole industry upside down, put me out of business really quickly. And at the age of 34, I'd gone from just a 7-figure year previously down to $7 an hour bagging groceries and didn't have a plan B. I just knew I missed my money. I missed my life. So I was like, okay, I got to learn something new. What can I go learn that pays the most? And of all the people in my life at that time that turned out to be a great mentor in hindsight was the grocery store manager. And I had that same type of conversation with him, and he had said, Matt, real estate, it's the final frontier where just the average person has a legitimate shot at creating real wealth. And I was like, wow, I didn't know if it was true or not, but I knew I was feeling far below average at that point. So I was like, sign me up, and became a real estate agent for 4 years, thinking that's what I was supposed to do. And then realized that if I really want the wealth that real estate produces, I'm probably sitting on the wrong side of the desk. So I made a large investment in my real estate investing education and vowed to never represent anybody else other than myself on a purchase or a sale of real estate. And somewhere in there, not sure exactly where it dropped in, but got the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Stella really got grasped onto that concept of passive income and escaping the rat race. Because I'd made a lot of money in my life, but I was never free. And understanding, wow, if you just create enough passive income to cover your monthly expenses, you might not be rich or wealthy, but you'll be free. And at that point in my life, I didn't want to go back and repeat the same mistakes, and freedom was a lot more appealing than the riches. So in 3.5 years, I was able to conquer that, and then it just felt like the natural progression was to start teaching. I had enough people ask me questions on how I did it. So we started a podcast. We have an online academy. I got a fund where I conduct all of my own real estate investing underneath that umbrella so people can invest in that. And that's where we're at today. That's Epic Real Estate.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you said you got into the passive income side of the business, which I tell everybody, there's always different ways of active income, like wholesaling and, going out there and, fixing flips and stuff like that. But you got to be able to hold these properties. I mean, that's going to be able to create the true wealth. So when you got into to start buying and holding these assets, did you, because I know you're based out of California, correct?
Yes.
And I know the market there is crazy. So are you buying and holding properties in the California market?
No, I don't. And I never, I have 3 here just totally on accident. But I had to go to markets where that purchase price to rent ratio was more in the favor of buying and holding. So where you can actually get paid by holding the property rather than it costing you like it would in Los Angeles. So that education that I made an investment in was a national education platform of where you got together 4 times a year with people from all over the country. I was able to build a strong network, a national network, probably maybe 30 core friends and associates. And so I created really great relationships in other markets all through the Midwest and the South of where the buy and hold strategy makes a whole lot more sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so these properties that you're holding, tell me a little bit right now kind of what your portfolio looks like to today.
Sure. It's changed a lot recently in the last, 3 or 4 years. I had gotten up to almost 350 units, and property management was starting to kill me. So I did a giant 80-20 analysis on my portfolio to keep the 20 that were the best performing. And I just got rid of the other 80%. Either I sold them off, just a quick fire sale, or I sold them off with seller financing. So that's left me here today where I've got about 50 doors and I got about 50 notes on 50 other doors.
Gotcha. Okay, nice. So someone, let's say someone that's brand new looking to get into buying and holding, kind of talk about like, how did that first deal of you holding or first few doors that you acquired, how'd that whole process go?
Sure. The education I got in, it was just, it's not around anymore, but you had so many different doors you could walk through of how you could make money in real estate at that particular, in that environment. And at the moment when I got started, I just came out of the grocery store and I didn't have a whole lot of money to invest. And so I was really drawn to all of the creative acquisition strategies. And so anything like with seller financing or subject to, those were like where my radar was really on. And so that's how those happened. And I found one person through this network. He had 35 properties in Illinois for sale, and he was willing to carry the paper. And so that's the way I was able to acquire the first portion of my portfolio. So I got all 35 under contract, flipped half of them, and held on to the other half.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you recommend people to use their own cash or work with private money or some other source of funding?
Yeah. One of the advantages and the reason real estate has created so much more wealth than any other investment out there is you have the ability to leverage like the average person doesn't have in most traditional investments. And, there's growing at 5 times the rate it would be if you used all of your own money. So my rule of thumb is to leverage as much as possible, use as much as other people's money as possible, whether that's a bank or hard money or private money or grandma's money, wherever that may be. Use as much money of other people's money as possible to build your cash flow. And once you've hit your cash flow goal, then start eliminating all that leverage to sustain it. Gotcha. So leverage to grow, eliminate the leverage to preserve.
Okay. Now, I remember back in the day when I got started in real estate about 9 years ago, my mentor told me that you shouldn't buy and hold unless you have $100,000 in the bank. I don't necessarily know if I even believe that anymore, but he said you need to have some type of emergency, capital for if something was to go wrong or, tenant move out and stuff like that. What would your advice be on someone to?
I actually don't think that's bad advice.
Okay.
I don't think that's bad advice at all. But I wouldn't have listened to it. You know what I mean? I went ahead and did it anyway. In hindsight, that would have been very helpful. It could have bailed me out of a lot of challenging spots that I ended up in by holding so much property without any reserves. Because I had this thing where it's like idle money is like the devil's playground. Like you don't want any money sitting around unless it's earning a return for you. So I probably went in too fast, too hard, too soon. But the $100,000, it's kind of an arbitrary number. 10 grand could probably be sufficient. You don't need that much, but I think it's wise to have reserves.
Got you. Okay. And so are you holding more single family homes or are you doing any multifamily? Yeah,
I'm all single family right now.
Okay.
Part of those units I had, the 350 I was telling you about, I had a 44 unit, a 14, a 10, and an 8. And I just sold that 14 unit here, that last multi-unit, probably about 4 months ago. But I'm all single family now.
Gotcha. Okay. So tell us a little bit about maybe some hiccups or things that you had to overcome with owning that many properties. Because, I think that's a dream of a lot of people is, being able to own a lot of assets and having a lot of cash flow coming in. But of course, that comes with headaches and things like that. So could you tell us just maybe some things that you might have went through and had to overcome?
I think the biggest thing, if someone is attracted to holding that type of quantity, is you have to be really good at delegating, but be careful not to abdicate. And so the secret to real estate and the cash flow and the wealth creation is really property management. It's not the property, it's not the market, it's the actual property management. And whether you're doing that management yourself or you're managing somebody that's managing it for you, that's the key to the whole thing. And what I did, and the mistake I made early on, was I wanted to grow so quickly, so fast, that I just got a property manager, and just kind of let those things, thinking that it was going to be 100% passive. And I just, what you call abdicating is like you relinquish all control. Not legally, but I just like locked it out of my mind and went to go buy more, and hopefully they were going to take care of it.
Okay.
So you gotta stay involved. Passive income doesn't mean uninvolved income.
Right.
Like, you gotta watch your, and whether that's a stock or it's a mutual fund or it's cryptocurrency, like you better be involved. It's your money. You know what I mean? You better be in a position to where you make the decisions and you can manage that the best you can, because that's your livelihood. That's your future. And I kind of relinquished that, putting a little too much trust in real estate and other people to manage it for me.
Got you. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I like what you said about the passive income. I think a lot of people look at it as a set it and forget it. And it's just money, mailbox money coming in where you sleep,
Right.
I think that's
totally. Even the expression turnkey rentals is kind of, misleading, because you think you just turn the key and it goes forever.
Right.
No, you got to put fuel in it. You got to keep it clean. You got to steer it, and you got to stop if you see something dangerous coming up. So yeah, you turn the key, the car turns on, but you still have to drive the car.
Yeah, I agree. So I was reading this book about emerging real estate markets, and it's a pretty good book. It talks about, of course, I'm not sure if you heard about it, but it talks about buying properties at the right time in the market and stuff like that. With you seeing the way the market is going right now, do you still think that people should be investing and holding, or should they be maybe waiting out for the shift that possibly could be happening soon?
Right. Well, if you're trying to time the market, that means you've got more of an appreciation type mindset.
Gotcha.
If you're really into wealth creation, you should be thinking of income, and then the wealth creation happens automatically. And so the better the income, the longer you can hold on to that property. And if you go back at any time in history and say, okay, what if I bought 20 homes 20 years ago? Where would I be today? At any point in history, you could ask that question and you'd probably be in a better spot than you would have been if you didn't buy those homes. And so I don't think, if you're timing the market, I think you've got the wrong idea. I think you're thinking about buying low, selling high, and cashing out. And And I think you should buy and hold forever.
Got you. Okay, great. So what would you say, kind of what is your future goals? I mean, of course, you've sold the most units and now you've scaled down a little bit, but I'm sure it's a lot less headaches. It's probably more profit for you and things like that. So what is kind of your goals going forward now with adding on to your portfolio?
Sure. It's to continue to grow it, but just I've become more of a shopper of real estate as opposed to a buyer of real estate. So I've got my criteria. I know what I'm looking for, and I just really stick to my standards. And when something comes up, then I will go ahead and I'll make that investment. But going forward, it's constant and never-ending growth, but I'm probably just so much more selective today than I've ever been.
Gotcha. Okay. And I want to talk about your podcast real quick because I know we got to go soon. Your podcast, Epic Real Estate. Can you tell us a little bit about it and how people can tune in to your shows? Sure.
Yeah. If you're listening to a podcast, you obviously have to know how to find one. I mean, we're on all the major places, iTunes, Spotify, iCloud? No. I just went blank. iHeartRadio, and then SoundCloud. Thank you. And so yeah, all the normal places. And we just started our 9th year, so we've been doing this for a really long time. We're up to 4 days a week right now. Each day has a little bit of a different theme. Monday is more real estate focused, more instruction and the tactical and strategies on Mondays. And Tuesdays we show you how to keep it. In fact, I do that episode with my tax attorney. And then Thursday, we bring in thought leaders just in general business, because real estate investing is a business. So there's a lot to benefit from people from other industries. And then Friday, we have Financial Freedom Friday, where it's all about how you make that transition from your day job to becoming a full-time real estate investor. And so that's where we're at right now. And that's kind of what the show entails.
Gotcha. That's nice. Okay, guys. And make sure I'm going to have the links to the show notes to epicrealestate.com, guys, where you can go out and you can get more information about Matt and tune in to the shows every single week. Real quick, Matt, before I let you go, the question I ask every single guest on here: someone's trying to escape the newbie zone and get that first deal closed. What advice would you give them?
Travel as far as you can see, and when you get there, have faith that you're going to see further. You know, Dr. Martin Luther King says you don't need to see the whole staircase to take that first step. And if you take the first step, all of a sudden there's a little bit more light on the second step. You take the second step, there's a little more light on the third. And so just find someone who's been there, done that, and move at the speed of instruction. They tell you to do something, just go do it. And when you're done, come back and say, now what? And just keep taking that one step at a time, and you'll have your first transaction under your belt in no time. In fact, I just started a pilot program that I went back to my roots. So because I've done a couple interviews on some podcasts, and they've always asked one of the common questions: if you lost everything today and you had to start over, how would you do it? And so I've been asked that question enough times that I've started this little pilot program and went and created a course to show people exactly what I would do, or exactly how I did do it, because I do it the same way today. And it's totally free, and it's at freerealestateinvestingcourse.com. So it's all focused around getting that first deal done when you have limited resources. So maybe that would be useful. Maybe that's a better answer to your question.
Perfect, guys. And again, I'll include that link in the show notes so that way you can go and get access to that. All right, Matt, I appreciate you being on the show. Thanks for coming on. Any last words for the listeners?
I don't think so, Chris. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to be on your show. Thanks for inviting me. And, I have to come on our show at some point in the near future.
Definitely. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and be clear to stay tuned to future episodes with other interviewers coming up soon. All right. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks for listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast at www.escapethenewbiezone.com.